One thing that I love about you from afar is I was listening to the first podcast that we did together, and at that time ByErim was quite a new product. You know, you obviously were ambitious and you had just sold out your first order, but you had a lot of aspirations and you had a clear vision, a clear goal, and fast forward, you have achieved those things.
I grew up not knowing about like makeup, hair care, anything like that. I had my daddy, but like an Indian grandma doesn't really know like makeup. So I had a very aggressive approach to femininity. And my thought was, no one can look at me bad or like look at me like, oh, poor bajari, like poor girl, if I know about all the things that all of my peers know about.
Welcome to another episode of Recipe to Success. Today I'm super excited because we're kicking off season 6 with a bang, a part 2 of a podcast that, you know, was so special that we did 3 years ago. And now I'm joined by award-winning entrepreneur and influencer, Erim. How are you, Erim?
I'm good. I feel good after that intro.
Welcome back, 3 years on.
I know, I'm excited. I've never done a part 2 of a podcast before.
No way. Yeah. So it's an honor. And also the first time we didn't do video because there were some technical difficulties on the day. So now I'm really, really excited. Everyone can actually see you as well. And that was like just after COVID. It was during COVID, but the first lockdown had happened. And, you know, you had started By Erim. Your influencer career was doing really well, but now it's just a whole different ballgame. So I know for a fact you're going to have a lot of advice and gems to give to the people. So first of all, for anyone who doesn't know you, it's probably a small percentage of people, but anyone who doesn't, why don't you give us a brief introduction?
So I am the CEO and founder of By Erim, which is luxury hair and beard care. And I've had that for 3.5 years. And I've also been an influencer for 7 years.
So at the time, I think you were on 150K.
Right.
How many are you on now, followers?
On Instagram, it's 360.
So more than double, basically.
Yeah, it's nice.
Wow, that's crazy. So By Erim, for people that, you know, have never seen it, they don't know anything about it, why don't you give us, you know, the long and short of it, of what it is and why it's so unique and why it's doing so well?
Sure. So By Erim, this is our proprietary product. So 8 pure oils inside. Each of the oils has a different molecular weight. So I'm a student of trichology, which means scalp and hair. No one knows what it means. I'm working so hard on it. No one knows. They're looking at me like, what's trichology? So each of the oils can penetrate the hair at a different level. So we've got the really thick ones like castor. They sit on the cuticle. They seal all the goodness in. And then you've got the really little ones like rosemary, which help to penetrate right into the hair cortex. So you've got healthy hair from inside out. And this can also be used on the beard. You can have this bottle.
Definitely. I can't wait. So for anyone, you know, that wants to know a little bit more about your journey, your start, how you started By Erim, make sure you guys click on the original episode. It'll be in the link below. Today we're going to be focusing more on your success and the growth of it, because I remember when it first started, obviously it was a passion project. It was something that your daddy passed down. You know, you had that in your family, you created a recipe and you wanted to make a difference. 3 years on, it's taken a whole journey of itself. You're not only in the UK anymore, you're also back and forth in Dubai. So talk about that in terms of going from putting your little stickers on the bottle to now having a warehouse to now having, you know, orders all around the world.
It's crazy because when you like place that first order for whatever the minimum order quantity that my factory would allow, you don't think that it's going to go like any level of far. Like I didn't know I was ever going to be placing a second order with them, let alone like a continuous flow of products. And I'm sure you guys can relate. We're headed into Black Friday now. So the numbers that we're talking is just crazy. But I think I'm very lucky because I started my brand when I was living at home with my dad. And I still have that home with my dad as well. I live on my own, but I still go back there. And when I walk into my bedroom, and by the way, my bedroom was so small, I didn't have a desk in it. So I would do all of my work. I think I was living there when I last spoke to you. I would do all of my work on my bed. I would sleep on my bed. I would eat on my bed. I walk into that room now and I'm like, I feel the anxiety that I used to feel in this room. So it's so nice being able to go back there and just be reminded of how hard I worked at the beginning, but then also be surrounded like in my own flat living in Dubai, because I'm like, okay, cool. This is a physical representation of how hard I worked. So it's nice to have that grounding of both.
One thing that I love about you from afar is I was listening to the first podcast that we did together, and at that time ByErim was quite a new product. You know, you obviously were ambitious and you had just sold out your first order, but you had a lot of aspirations and you had a clear vision, a clear goal, and fast forward, you have achieved those things. And I think it's very, very, you know, amazing achievement, because a lot of people say they're going to do things, they have a great idea, but then to execute it is a whole different ballgame. So for yourself, how important has that been in terms of goal setting and actually taking action on the things that you kind of aspired for?
I mean, like, my biggest piece of advice is there's 8 billion people on this earth. Like, we're genuinely not as unique as we want to think. And if you don't have the guts to go and do it, someone else will. And they're going to be even less prepared than you. I'm one of those people where an opportunity presents itself, I will just commit full force to that, because I'm so lucky that it came to my door in the first place. I think that's what stops a lot of young entrepreneurs from really, really, really going as far as they can, is that anticipation, the trepidation, whatever it might be. They just can't commit fully to something. Even when it comes to like filming a TikTok, anything can go viral. I will always put my all into the first take I give of that TikTok to ensure that it has the best chances of going viral, because there's no point having to refilm, you know?
Definitely.
Just give it your all.
But how do you stay consistent? Because whether it's By Erim, whether it's your influencer career, whether it's just posting regularly, that's a huge commitment that a lot of people can't do. So what allows you to stay consistent?
I think I have a really good team around me, and not everyone is going to have that, but I also am very focused on my followers. I think at the end of the day, a lot of people are trying to grow their page, but what the problem is they're looking outside of their following. And what does that mean? You're isolating the people that have committed to following you in the first place. If you keep your eyes, as we were just talking before, stay in your own lane. If you keep your eyes focused directly on your followers, not on the people that don't already follow you, you will start to spread by a word of mouth. And I know whenever I'm like a bit, I want to take a break from social media, I know that there's going to be like a 13-year-old girl, and I have a lot of mums, they tell me that like, I only allow my daughter to follow you on social media. I feel like that 13-year-old girl at 6 o'clock, she may not exist, but I know if I was 13 and followed me, I would be like, okay, where's Erim's post for the day? And I will do it just for her, even if it's just one person. And that's the commitment that I've made to my followers.
And you really do see your followers as like your family or sisterhood. You must obviously get people DMing you all the time, you know, about what you've done for them and how you've impacted them. So I'm guessing that also plays a huge role in your responsibility almost.
Yeah. I literally have a folder in my phone I was showing the other day, and it's called Worth It. Because when I get like hate or something like that, I feel really like, oh my God, Erim, like, why did you sign up for this? Why did you do this? But then I look at that folder and it's got like pictures of like a little girl holding the bottle, and she's like pretending to be shocked. It's really cute. And then like really nice screenshots. So I look back at that and it reminds me why I do it.
And what motivates you? Because obviously you've achieved a lot of success over the past few years, especially. What allows you to kind of keep going and keep scaling and looking at the next level?
So I think anyone who comes from a single parent household might be able to relate to me. But when you've grown up like me, just my dad, my dad was 29 when my mom died. You know, he was really young. Then he got 2 kids all of a sudden, you know. It was such a sacrifice for him to have to work so hard. He was doing so much for us and still like affording our uniforms and clothes and everything like that. Like, and I watched him hustle. Now I'm in a position where like I can do that, and I can do that with him as a team. And I feel that not necessarily that I owe it to him, because my dad doesn't put that on me, but like I feel like I want to make sure that my dad has the best fighting chance to have the life that he deserves. And that is what always keeps me motivated.
You reference your dad a lot, and obviously he's been a big part of your life and obviously your career. I want to know, like, in terms of By Erim, how he's impacted also the business side of things.
So when I first started, my dad was very adamant not to get involved. My dad has always done like his own thing, which has really been services. And he's never like had a physical product that he's like buying from a factory and selling with his hands. So it was new to him, and he just said to me, listen, you need to do it on your own, because if I do it, as the internet loves to say about me, my dad, everyone's gonna say my dad ran my business. So he really didn't, up until I think it might have been April, where we went global. And that's when my dad came on board, because I kept selling out. He kept seeing me like literally like on my hands and knees, like putting the stickers on, like putting it in a jiffy, blah, blah, blah. He's like, all right, cool. We need to probably make this a bit smart the way you're doing it. You've proven to me that it's worth it and worth my time. You've done it on your own. Let's take it to the next level. So he's the one that got me the insurance to start selling globally. He helped me find a fulfillment center, which was an absolute travesty. Like, definitely do your research when it comes to different fulfillment centers, because I got so burnt by those ones. And then he really started to formalize the process for By Erim. So we had a lot more systems in place. We had everything trademarked, blah, 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 everything.
So for anyone that is a budding entrepreneur, maybe they're starting out, or maybe they're in the process of, you know, trying to follow your trajectory in scaling, you've obviously done that very well, from going from a business of just being at home and, you know, getting your friends to help you, to now being in fulfillment centers, being global. What are some of the things that you learned along the way in the part of scaling the business?
So the biggest piece of advice I actually got was as a result of rejection. So I had approached someone to be the producers of my oil here in the UK, be my manufacturers. And she said to me that my quantity was too low for her to onboard. But I wish I remembered her name actually. She was so kind to me. She said to me, treat your business from as if it's the backwards. So think about where you want to be. You want to be in Harrods. Okay, cool. Now work backwards from there. In order to be in Harrods, you need to have all your certification in place. In order to exit the brand one day, to sell the brand, you need to have all of the correct contracts and everything. Everything was stability tested, product tested, like all sorts of certification. Such a huge upfront cost. A lot of people just kind of think, oh, I'm just going to this year, make it in my kitchen and sell it. But like you're doing it legally if you do that. You know, it's not safe for the consumer. So by giving me that insight of thinking about where I want to be, it gave me so much confidence to make sure that I did everything right from the beginning. And I stand by every single business decision I've made to date.
How did you even come to that realization? Was it, you know, people around you that had kind of given you advice, or just your own mindset, your own research? What allowed you to even know the right steps in that process?
Google. Yeah, I get people DMing me all the time, like, how do I do this? And I'm like, I don't know, just search Google. Like,
and give it a go.
Yeah, give it a go. And then if you get stuck, ask me. But like, I was 23, you know, like when I was working all these things out, I think a lot of people are, you know, in their early to mid 20s when they want to start a business. And I just did it with Google.
And then you basically just kind of took it from there, made your own spin on it. And
yeah, Google and common sense, I think, works really well. And I think as well, like having the humility to know that you don't know everything and taking on board what people are saying, but also the discernment to know whose advice that you should be taking. A lot of people, I think, pride stops them from asking for advice. But like, I get advice from the most random places.
That's interesting. And if you could credit maybe one thing to the success of By Erim, what would you say it would be?
I think I was very lucky, but I think I'd be very naive to say that it was luck. I think there was an element of God. I think it was my mum probably watching over me. And those are very intangible things that probably other people may not say. But I think you have to give credit to that. There's something there's something a bit above us that it works in mysterious ways, isn't it?
I think there's a famous quote where they say, luck has to meet hard work, and together, you know, then you kind of excel, because you do need a bit of luck. You do need a bit of, you know, the universe supporting you. But obviously you have to work hard as well. And obviously you've done that.
Yeah.
I want to move on a little bit we'll come back to By Erim, because obviously there's so much to go into it, but I want to talk a bit more about the influencer side of things. You know, we spoke at the start where, you know, you've had such huge growth over the past few years and such a solid audience. I think, you know, even from my business, I've known that you have one of the best engagement out of all the influencers that we work with, because you're very authentic with your audience. You're very clear. You know, you have a very clear purpose, and that also allowed you to recently win Beauty Influencer of the Year in the Middle East. So how did that come about?
So I've been coming back and forth to Dubai for the last 3 years. How long have you been coming back for?
Since 2020.
Yeah, same as me then. So, you know, I think in Dubai, the reputation of UK influencers tends to not be the most positive. But where I kind of bridge that gap, where there's a huge expat community from the UK, there's a huge Indian community, and there's of course all of the locals, like I kind of sit somewhere in the middle of all of those, which I think has really benefited me from a positioning perspective. In addition to that, I think there's a lot of elements about me that are primed well for this market, being like even the way I look, my accent, my age, the fact that I'm a businesswoman on top of being an influencer, and the landscape here is so different. It's more so about your overall reputation versus like your follower count. I found that you have girls who have very, very low followers, but they're doing absolute bits with brands. And it's because they have that reputation. Maybe they're like a makeup artist, so they're a trusted person in the beauty industry. I think all of those things combined, and I think I was very lucky because I started to fall into a love of fragrance. Fragrance is huge in Dubai. all my videos have gone viral recently for fragrance. So I started to catch the eyes probably of people in Dubai, of people in the Middle East. And I think that really, really helped me to win.
What made you fall in love with Dubai, of all places?
I think it's just really safe. Like, obviously coming from London, like all of us here are from London, we were just talking about how scary it is. Me knowing that I can comfortably jump into any taxi here, and even just the fact that everything's 20 minutes away, I think it opened me up a little bit more to taking opportunities that I may not have. All right, go and have that meeting. Let's see what that's like. All right, go and do that podcast. Like, let's see what that's like. And in Dubai, where everyone is like relatively new, I think we're all, and I'm sure you can relate to this, you can tell me, we're all kind of like trying to find our feet. We're all trying to do as good as we can, but there's less of a culture of gatekeeping than there is London. Here, everyone's like, oh, I know a guy.
Yes.
Oh, I know a studio. Let me connect you with them.
Everyone wants to help. They're willing to help. And I think in the UK, people like they want you to do well, but not better than them. And then, so they'll kind of like push you to the side, or they will say they're going to do things and then they won't actually follow through. And I think in Dubai, people are also very open to networking, because they know that even if I may not gain something from this today, it's a relationship to have. And I think that's what also helped me in my journey was, you know, going to meetings, going to meet people with no intention of trying to get anything from them, just having a relationship. And then, you know, a year from now, then you realize, oh, you know what, I actually need this. Let me speak to this guy. And then everyone's willing to help. Even with the podcast, by the way, people are so much more open in doing podcasts here. And they're, you know, kind of like, doesn't matter what followers they have or, you know, how successful they are, they're willing to give their time. In the UK, it's the complete opposite, polar opposite. So I agree with you. But from a business point of view, because I kind of know as well that you're working very hard with ByErim here as well. How does that look? I mean, from a business perspective, what attracted you to Dubai?
I think like my products are very well primed for this market. I think it was an accident, but it worked. Dubai has a huge issue with people, well, the Middle East generally, because of the hard water, with people suffering from hair loss, hair breakage. What that means is because the water's so hard, the minerals attach to the root of the hair, to the length of the hair. That means that you can't penetrate it with moisture. The weaker and drier your hair is, the more brittle it is. You need to make sure that you have moisture. And that's where ByErim really came in. Not only that, but it's non-greasy. So it can be worn underneath a head covering, which makes a lot of sense. And then our scalp scrub, which is a complete like MOT for your scalp. It completely detoxes everything. So it gets rid of all of this sand, the dust, the salt when you're by the sea, all of these elements that are just working against your favor when it comes to your hair. ByErim just genuinely has a solution for them.
And disclaimer, this is a product that's not only for females.
Correct, yeah.
Because I know that you've promoted a lot about people using it as a beard oil, obviously for their hair as well.
Yeah.
So how does that look? Like, you know, because obviously your audience traditionally was a lot of females, but I'm guessing now you've amassed quite a male audience as well.
I definitely would say on the ByErim page, it's like quite a nice balance. I think for me, Sikhi stands for equality. And I think we can speak about that on a very macro level, and we can speak about it on a very micro level. I think everything really, really begins in your home. And as someone who's studying trichology, I really believe in education. This hair is made up of the same things as your hair: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. It is the same. But for some reason, people cannot seem to work out that you have to, like, there's no difference between a man's hair and a woman's hair. However, men tend to neglect the specific things, aside from like a beard balm that they might be using, the actual skin underneath your beard, because this is skin and this is skin. I don't know why we differentiate between our scalp and our forehead. It is still skin. So I really want to lead with that education and inject self-care and self-grooming into a man's day-to-day routine, starting with their bathroom. And then we can start to look at equality on a wider level.
Okay. And you mentioned, you know, part of one of the things you love about Dubai is, and, you know, one of the things that you fell into with the Beauty of Influence of the Year was your love for fragrance. You have gone viral a lot about fragrance for both women and men, guiding people on what to use. Where did that love for fragrance come?
So I'll go all the way back. Obviously, I grew up without mum and sisters. So I grew up not knowing about like makeup, hair care, anything like that. I had my daddy, but like an Indian grandma doesn't really know like makeup. So I had a very aggressive approach to femininity. And my thought was, no one can look at me bad or like look at me like, oh, poor bachari, like poor girl, if I know about all the things that all of my peers know about. So I went very deep into the world of like working out magazines and YouTube and how you do these things. And I kind of like mastered makeup, skincare, hair care But I really do feel, and this might be just my perspective, but fragrance really is just the pinnacle of femininity. And I wanted to master that. I felt like that was like the final stage. So I really got deep into my podcasts, deep into the videos about it on TikTok. And I loved it. But the one thing I found, there wasn't a lot of people of color talking about fragrance. And that often when someone is reviewing a fragrance, they will sit there and they'll say to you, base note jasmine, heart note watermelon, like top note citrus. I'm like, what does that smell like? How do I know what watermelon, citrus, and jasmine smells like? What I wanted to do was translate it in a way that was like, this fragrance is going to make him ask you, where's your hug? This fragrance is going to stay in an elevator once you come out, because that's what people really want to know. Yeah. They don't want to know if it smells like jasmine.
The real life uses, yeah.
That's it. And I think where I bridge that gap between being relatable and funny, but also being informative about fragrance, it worked really well for me.
The question is, are we ever going to see a By Erim fragrance?
Maybe.
But, you know, that's what I was thinking a lot, because you have this knowledge and obviously you're guiding people, and a lot of people take your advice on it. So, I mean, it goes hand in hand, isn't it? So look out for that, guys. Top secret. We're not going to go into too much detail. But the other thing I want to know is, you're back and forth, London, Dubai, you're an influencer, an award-winning influencer, you're a businesswoman. How do you manage your time?
I love a good calendar. And you know what? I'm very, very strict with my calendar. Like if it's in there, it's happening. Even if my dad says to me, Erim, 2026, we're going here on the 5th of July at 3 p.m. It's in my calendar and it's happening.
Wow.
I'm very committed to it. Very committed to it. So I think as long as you stick to a calendar, you're good. It's when everything's up in the air and you don't know what's happening. Even for this podcast, I was like, listen, I'm leaving. We need to arrange it so it's in my calendar. That really helps me.
And what do you do on days that you just have no energy, you can't be bothered, or you're having a bad day? Because I mean, we all have it, and we talked a lot about the success of it, but you know, running a business is not easy. You have a lot of downtimes, you take a lot of hits, or even from the influencer side, you might see a comment where you're just like, oh, you know, this has ruined my day now. So how do you then deal with that?
I think at the fundamental of everything, before I'm a founder, before I'm an influencer, I'm a human. And I remember learning in psychology, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
And you have to start from the bottom. What are my base needs? Are they being met? Am I fed? Am I shelter? Have I slept? Do I feel safe? If something is like upsetting me at this level, I know myself well enough that I know that like no matter what is happening, I need to meet those needs. Even my staff, when they haven't eaten and we're running late, I'm like to them, no, you need to eat, because you are never going to perform at your optimal ability if you're not regulated. And being a human will always come first for me, for my friends, for my family, for my staff. Having those needs met, and whether it's an emotional need, being I've had a troll comment and it's really upset me. Okay, I need to look within. I need to sit down. And really, I mean this. I need to regulate myself. You can't like take it out on people and be like, I'm annoyed because I haven't slept. Okay, that's on you. So either remove yourself from the situation, or if you can't, firm it as long as you can as a grown up, and then go and do whatever you need to do. Drink a coffee, have a Red Bull, or ideally go to sleep.
And so basically in those situations, you just kind of take a moment and then you compose yourself and you carry on. Yeah,
I think one of the greatest skills that you can develop is composure. In order to be composed, in order to perform at any level of optimal performance, even coming here, I like asked the coffee shop guy, I was like, can you give me a banana, please? Because my breakfast it didn't come properly. You have to have the calories inside you to do what you need to do. And if it means that I'm going to be 5 minutes late to come see you, even though we were early, I'm going to have to be 5 minutes late to come see you. Because me without a banana coming to this is not going to be a good version of Erim, you know? You need it.
I feel like you're very self-aware. How important do you think that is as human beings, that we truly understand who we are? Because I think everyone is motivated by different things. We can't just assume that, you know, we all want the same things in life. We all kind of aspire to achieve the same things. But then on a deeper level as well, we also get triggered by different things. We are also, you know, as people, we have our nuances. So how important is self-awareness in your journey, and how would you advise anyone figure themselves out? Because a lot of people, they say, well, where do I begin with that?
Definitely. And it's such a random topic, isn't it? Like, be self-aware. Okay, how?
Yeah,
you know?
Where do I start?
Yeah, I think in this day and age, you know how, I'm sure you can relate to this, like there's Humza online, then there's real Humza, you know? We all kind of have a public persona to some degree. Even if you have 100 followers, we have a curated feed where we're like, we want to know how we want to be perceived. I think knowing how to separate from Humza the podcast interviewer, from Humza the friend and the son, is such a key part of self-awareness, because then, you know, for instance, myself, if someone's attacking Erim, they're really attacking a brand. And I have that ability to kind of sometimes cut off from it and be like, okay, you don't really hate me. You hate the version of myself that I'm presenting. That to me has been the most important part of my journey of self-awareness. But I can imagine that that's not relevant to every single person.
I really like that though, because I think even if you're not online or anything, we all have different versions of ourselves. The individual that we show our family, the individual that we then show our friends, and you know, the then version that we show online. I 100% agree with you. So it's almost like removing yourself from that and saying, this is just a version of me, or this is what you're choosing to see, your perspective and what you're taking from it.
Yes. And I think giving yourself the grace to make mistakes and change your mind, the way that the internet works, like I've seen it, you know, like the big YouTubers in America, they get really, really like badly attacked. Like they'll tweet something from like 100 years ago and it just does not resonate now. It's not okay now. But I think giving people the grace, and I'm not using any particular experience or reference here, but like giving people the grace to change their mind. Like there's been incidences where I'm like, oh, I don't like listening to XYZ type of music, but then I'll use it. And then it's like, but no, I like this one. Like you're allowed to be multifaceted. You're allowed to have the option to change your mind. And I think giving yourself that grace without expecting others to give you that grace is such a key part of recognizing, I know myself, but I know that myself is growing, and I'm okay with the old version of me, I'm okay with the today version of me, and I'm okay with the next month version of me.
Yeah, because we're constantly evolving, and so your beliefs and your taste today may be completely different tomorrow.
Honestly, do a side by side of like how we were back in that last podcast.
Yeah, definitely. 3 years, like it can change everything. I also want to talk about how important social media has been for you, because obviously there's pros and cons to it, of course, from an influencer perspective and from a business perspective as well. And I still have, you know, from time to time, businesses that we approach for Social Awaken, and they still don't necessarily understand the importance that social media has on their brand, on their sales, on their reputation. So I guess from a neutral perspective, because you are, you know, a true testament of that from a personal brand and from a brand itself, how important do you think social media is to businesses?
Yeah, I mean, hugely. Like, I don't even say like, I feel like I've got 350, 60,000 stakeholders in my brand, because there's little things I'll ask them, do you prefer this one or this one on my stories? And then they help me.
I really like that, by the way, because you make it interactive and you make them feel like their voice is heard.
It is heard. It really is. I really care about what they think, but at the end of the day, I already know, kind of like, sometimes I know what I want. I would say it is so important, and it's not just, people focus about what they post on their Instagram or their TikTok, but it is a really, really 360 thing. Who do you follow? What posts do you like? Because for instance, By Erim, like strictly my marketing manager will only like hair care related posts, because she might see a really funny meme about leaving your ex and and she might want to like it, but how wild would that be if By Erim liked it? And you need to treat yourself like a business the way I treat By Erim like a business. There's so many memes I want to like, but I'm like, it's going to say Erim has liked this, and I can't. Keeping your following feed clean, keeping your posts, your likes, all of those things, it gives that credibility. And I think that is a really much more important way to look at it than just what goes up on your grid.
So let's say there's a person and he says, you know, social media, it's not going to help my business. It's not going to help me. What would you say to those people? Because obviously you have not only built a business off the back of social media, but you also, you know, do brand deals as well. And of course you generate ROI for them as well. So let's say there's a layman person who has no perspective on social media. What would you say to them?
I think it depends on what your business type is. Like, there's so many businesses that just wouldn't work on social media. It would be almost weird if they're like a funeral company. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are you posting on there other than maybe having a presence? I think is important, almost like a business card. And I say this, one of my assistants, she wants to become a UGC, like a content creator. That means no followers, but she wants to be someone that goes into restaurants, goes into places, because she can film beautiful content, edit it so nicely. I said to her, listen, treat your Instagram like a portfolio. You can put it on private, but when you meet someone, you can say to me, hey, my name is, example, Jennifer Creates on Instagram, and here's a portfolio of my work. It's almost like it's the new LinkedIn. And I think you need to have bare minimum present, even if it's just your logo with the details of how to contact you. If you are a funeral provider, like, have just that so people can find you. But if you are a brand that like would benefit from social media, like a restaurant, hire someone. if you are not good at it, if you don't enjoy it, outsource that. There's so many things that I'm bad at. I'm bad at customer service. I've always been bad at it. Like, it hurts my soul when I get a negative email.
Feels like a personal attack.
I know it is, because it's also my name in the brand.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
true.
are you sending it to Erim or By Erim? I can't tell the difference. But yeah, hiring people as well is important.
By the way, credit where credit's due. One of the things that you guys do very well, marketing genius, is By Erim, the tone of voice. I love it. Like when you post and then they'll comment on your things, and like the little things that I think there's a lot of things that people don't realize how much attention to detail there is and how much work goes into it. So
yeah. She has my notifications on, so she knows as soon as I post, she quickly comments, but
and makes it relevant to the brand.
Yes.
Yeah,
and funny, but then I pin it because then the main comment is By Erim. Like, you have to be all over this. You have to be obsessed with it. I always say that. But then everyone comments, they're like, oh my God, why are you messaging yourself on your brand page? And I'm like, okay, you don't get it. That's fine.
Some of us appreciate it.
Thanks.
I want to know what you do for downtime, because obviously you've got so much going on. I'm sure your calendars are always booked. And, you know, of course, it's very full on sometimes. So there's obviously the Erim offline. How do you kind of just relax and chill and take a breather?
Like, I'm a home girl, so I really like cleaning my flat. It's like a little one bed in London, but like I will literally like mop the floor with my hands because I love every inch of my flat, because it's my very first like non-uni flat, if you know. Clean it, and I think for me, having a really good organized, like my laundry's done, my bed sheets are changed, like everything is good, that keeps my mind straight. But I also just like, I'm a bit basic, I really like watching Netflix, just like easy switch off your mind type of things.
Do you find that you have always been a homely person, or you have become a homely person because you sometimes feel paranoid because you are Erim and you can't go out too much?
No.
No?
Do you know what it is? Like when my followers see me, and it happens like every day, I would say, like they're really nice. I think like attracts like. So you're probably going to have a lot of young boys that are interested in entrepreneurship. I'm going to have a lot of young girls that are interested in like beauty and fashion and hair. And these types of girls that follow me are really cute. Of course, I do get a few people that like might be a bit socially awkward, and that's fine. Like you can't, it is a bit confronting, like when you meet someone you've never met them before, but I'm good at not making things awkward. So like we'll firm it and we'll make it through. But they generally tend to be really nice. And I think like when I was younger, I remember I saw someone from The Apprentice who lost, and I like melted. I couldn't believe I'd seen someone on TV. And I was like, I know what it feels like. And not comparing myself to someone on An Apprentice, like it's all different now, but
as in that's what they're seeing every day. So for them, you are that celebrity, 100%.
Yeah, oh my God, like very loosely we're using that word.
No, it's true. I mean, you know, I think the definition of celebrity has changed, because before we used to get excited about people because we didn't have access to them. So when we would see a major celebrity, it would be like, oh wow, like I'm never going to be able to see this guy again, and you would rush to them. And I think now we're in a phase where influencers are kind of, you're consuming their content every day, so you feel like you know them.
Yes.
So when you do see them in real life, it's like, oh my God, like it is a mind-blowing experience for some people. And I think you're right. I think trolls generally stay online, and when people see you in real life, they don't mean
no
any
one's
harm.
ever said anything to me in real life. I dare them, please try. You won't.
They wouldn't, because obviously I think even those people that are haters, they actually just want to get your attention a lot of the time. So it's like they're saying those things in order to get a reaction, but really they're your fans. So when they see you in real life, they'll never act like they're a hater. They will always act like they're a big fan, because they are.
I think as well, like not feeling a desperate need to block everyone every time, because it kind of shows that you've seen it. It kind of shows that you're affected by it. Sometimes just leave it, you know, you can give me that view, it's fine.
So you said, so for you, you're purely homely. Like for you, your downtime is just chilling, watching a bit on Netflix, relaxing. What about like, so you're not much of a go out person? I guess in Dubai you are.
And I do go out like all the time in London, but like with the same, like I have like 6 friends, and like we'll rotate every weekend and stuff like that. I like familiarity and I like routine. I didn't grow up with much of that at all. We moved house a lot. I had like lots of different things happen. So now that I have control, and that's why I love my flat so much, because I get to wake up, I get to choose what I have for breakfast. I get to wake up in the same house like every day. It's so important to me. And that also comes into the people I surround myself by. Majority of my friends I've been with since well before I had social media, like uni, school days, even my best friend, first day of reception. And she's still my best friend, yeah.
That's a perfect segue actually, because in business, as you will know, you have to make a lot of sacrifices, and part of that is obviously not having as much time as others may have. Part of that is obviously removing some people from your life and being very selective who you surround yourself with, because sometimes it's even just the thoughts and the ecosystem that you surround yourself in. So how important has that been for you, like those 6 friends that you're mentioning? Is it the case of that you will always kind of just surround yourself with them because you know that it's a safe place? Or how does that work for you? Because for me, I know that I've definitely had a lot of people that have had to be cut out, not intentionally,
Right.
but, you know, because obviously we're not in the same mind frame, we're not on the same trajectory, and, you know, not in a rude way, but at the same time, if you're surrounding yourself with people that that cannot even fathom the things that you're doing, naturally it's going to bring you down sometimes.
From my perspective, I think as I've gotten older, and I don't know if you can relate to this as well, but like my intuition has gotten better. You know, like you speaking about the ability to read the room and the energy and the thoughts that they're giving you. I used to be very oblivious to that. Now I'm starting to learn to trust my gut a little bit more. And I'm not adverse to meeting new people, because everyone comes into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Maybe this person that came into my life for 1 year, they weren't meant to be in it forever, but they were meant to be there to serve the purpose of inspiring me or teaching me a lesson. So I'm okay with new people, but I would say having the trust to know that they don't have to be the same as you. Because, you know, one of my very closest friends is a school teacher. She is completely different world to me, you know, and we still manage to make it work. So I'm not necessarily looking to just solely surround myself with entrepreneurs and like type A go-getter hustlers. It's a very, very grounding thing to have different people around you, because then they can give you different perspectives on situations.
Yeah, that's true. And also, you know, sometimes it's not about their occupation, it's about the fact that they're loyal, they're trustworthy, you can count on them.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the business world and the influencer world? Sometimes that can become, it can kind of cross over into your personal life. Do you find that a lot of that time is just acquaintances and really people are in it for their own gain? Because I definitely find that in London, like especially, I think in Dubai, I think actually it happens in Dubai as well, where people are obviously befriending you because they're trying to get something out of you. Being less oblivious to that, do you see that as well? And do you kind of then move away from those situations?
I think everyone deserves a fair try. I think it's not easy to get access to me. I'm not going to lie. You kind of have to jump through quite a few hoops with my team around me. And I'm very lucky for that, because they're very protective, especially my manager. You've spoken to her, right? She's been with me for like 4 years. She's very tough. Everyone deserves a fair chance. You'll be able to gauge what someone's like. Like, I am horrendous over text. Literally, I'm a crazy person over text. If you was to judge me off the back of the way I text, you'd be like, this girl's got a screw loose. But then you meet me and then you're like, okay, cool, like she's okay. So giving people a chance, I think, is really important.
How have you adopted thick skin? Because obviously you get comments all the time, even in business interactions, you know, I'm sure there's times where you have to put your foot down as an influencer as well. Is that something you've always had, or is that something you've adopted over time?
I think like growing up, my dad's a very, very strong guy, like alpha male, like mafia boss looking man. And like people would really associate me with him when I was younger. And I think his reputation preceded itself in the sense that it protected me. Now, as I'm older, yes, he's by my side, but like I'm in rooms without him. And having such a strong dad, and it really taught me to advocate for myself. And I'm okay. Like when me and you do a question that I don't want, I will just tell you I don't want to do that. But it is about your delivery as well. I think a lot of people do like, no worries if not, apologies. It's okay if we can't. And that's okay to frame it that way. But you need to stand firm in what you believe and what your boundaries are.
I like that. So let's go back to By Erim, because I spoke up earlier in the podcast about the fact that when we sat down 3 years ago, you manifested a lot of things and you made it happen, which is amazing. I want to know what your next ambitions are, because obviously the brand has, you know, exceeded maybe some of your expectations as well of where it's got to and globally and things like that. So what are some of the things that you now aspire to achieve in the next couple of years? It might not necessarily be just By Erim, it might also be from an influencer perspective as well.
I think for ByErim, I really want to expand the product range. Like people on the street, they're like, oil. And I'm like, come on guys. The scalp scrub is my bestseller now. Can we call me the scrub girl or something different, you know? So I would love to get more established for being known for the rest of my products, because they are not flankers. These are products that exist and have been formulated and have won awards. We have innovated with every single product for a reason. They deserve the shine that they deserve. So I want to grow my product range. I want to, you know, establish myself as not just the oil girl. And then on the Erim side of things, I'm really happy with where I'm at. I think, again, speaking about my manager, she's so good. And we really focus on long-term collaborations. I think that's something that's really important. You know, it's very easy to make a quick payday. Someone's going to pay you XYZ number of pounds for a quick post, a quick shout out, and that's fine. If you need the money, get that money, believe in that product, that's good. But for me, I think there's certain brands that are super affiliated with me, like Pandora, like Kiss Nails. Shout out Kiss Nails, I love them. I love Pandora. I've been working with Kiss for a year, Pandora for 3 years. Do I go above and beyond outside of my deliverables? 100%, because I genuinely love those products. I would much rather have a long-term collaboration with Pandora than one-off here and there with this brand and here and there with that brand.
How do you manage different brand deals? Obviously having your own brand as well. Is it you're super selective when it comes to that?
Yeah, I mean, like, the only thing is I just wouldn't work with a hair care brand. Yeah, hair tools is cool because I don't make straighteners or curling irons and stuff like that. I did a collab with Babyliss recently. It's an amazing product, but that doesn't cross over. I would never promote another shampoo or conditioner. I was invited by a really reputable perfume brand to promote their hair perfume, and I just couldn't do it.
Okay, so the other thing I want to know from your perspective is, By Erim, obviously you've now introduced different products. Where do you think it can go? Because obviously there's billion-dollar brands in this industry. Is that something that you're kind of setting your goal in, where there's no limit of how far you will take it? There's no kind of corner in the world you don't want to take it? Because you also seem very passionate always about your brand. You are the best representation of your brand. You are now studying as well in that field because I guess you want to become even more knowledgeable within that. So how does that look for you?
I'm not super goal-setty of a person because I feel like you kind of go where the wind takes you. Like, it was my dad's idea to start coming to Dubai, and then like it's been really lucky for us. So I don't necessarily have goals, and I feel that's probably not the advice that you would give. What would you say?
I would say you should have an indication of where you want to go, because obviously without setting that in your mind, you will never achieve it. But at the same time, I do understand what you're saying, is that sometimes you don't want to set your expectations too high and then be disappointed later on.
Yeah.
And you want to enjoy the journey as well.
Definitely. And I think, like, I might be so focused on going in this way, but then God is trying to pull me in this way. Imagine I ignored him and I didn't go the way that he wanted me to go. Whereas, like, I'm obviously the opposite, and I'm just very like, okay, we'll go this way, this way.
What are some of the biggest achievements that you're most proud of for ByErim?
I think our app I was really proud of, because we launched it at 54 on the app charts, and I remember not knowing what an app chart was. Then one of my followers sent it to me and I was like, oh my God, I'm on the UK app chart. That was really cool, because that was a very purely driven offering that we had as a product of ByErim, because it just gives daily affirmations sent straight to your lock screen every morning.
Nice.
And I wanted to think like, okay, I can't give my followers a free bottle of oil because that won't make business sense, but what I can give them is like that daily reminder, okay, I'm there and with you. I wrote these affirmations myself. Like, let's start the day on a positive note. Anything else free I can give, like free wallpapers. We made a completely free ebook that was written by myself, all about the science of hair, and you can download it for free on the website. These things, these free things that I'm able to give people, I'm super proud of. And
from a kind of human being perspective, you are maybe an unintentional role model for a lot of people. People do look up to you, and obviously they aspire to be like you, or they're just kind of, you are their source of happiness when they're having a difficult day. I want to know some of the advice that you would give your younger self, because you always speak about you know, trying to be that role model for the person that you needed when you were 13 years old, 14 years old. So what are some of those things?
It's really hard being like a teenage girl and growing up without mum and sisters. So I think the advice that I'd give to myself, not a lot of people could relate to, but I would just say it gets easier, and then it gets harder, and then it gets easier again. And I think having that expectation, that tolerance for things going bad, and expectation for it to get better afterwards, is something that I only learned when I was like 20, 21 living in America. I started to say to people, like, whenever I got rejected for whatever it might have been, most likely in my case fired, because I got fired from everything. Whenever I got fired from a job.
8 jobs in a row, right?
8 jobs. Yeah.
I remember seeing that.
God was like, you're meant to have your own business, Erim. Come on, pick it up faster. I would always be like, it's fine, something better is coming. But it took me a long time to learn that.
What were some of those things that you felt went wrong in those 8 jobs? Because I think people are quite fascinated by that story, like that you went through jobs, you actually genuinely tried, and then your path was naturally to go towards business.
It was very, very different. I remember one, I got fired because like it was like an event kind of job, and I got fired because I didn't want to wear the red nails and red lipstick. Like it was always very random. It wasn't kind of like cohesive reasons, but I guess the underlying thing is like I didn't want to listen to the rules because I thought, why are people gonna enjoy their experience more if I've got red lips and red nails? Do you know what I mean? And I was like, it doesn't suit me anyways. So it was very random reasons, to be honest with you. I think God, like I said to you, he was really trying to give you the message. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you try at these jobs, you're not going to be doing that for a long time.
Are you kind of an advocate for business? Or like, let's say your friends are obviously, they might have jobs and people say, you know, I want to go into business or, you know, do you recommend? What would you say?
No, I think the world needs people who are going to do those 9-to-5 jobs, and they are so valuable. Look, if everybody had their own business, what would we do for the people who are social workers? What would we do for the teachers in this world? What would we do for the charity workers, etc.? We need to have people who are in those places, and a lot of the time not everyone is a leader. So being in that role where you're kind of getting told what to do, having freedom within your role, having that motivation to work your way up in a structured way through the ladder really works with people's personalities, and the world needs that. If they were to come into my role where they have to decide what they have to do every single day, they would melt. If I had to go into their role where I had to go into an office and I had to follow a spreadsheet or something like that, like I would melt. The world needs both.
What do you think makes a good leader?
I think fairness. One of the things that I'm very proud of is the fact that when I started my business, I did it all myself. So I can relate to the girl who's doing the fulfillment. I can relate to the girl that's managing the customer service, a bit too much. And I can relate to the girl that's managing the marketing. Knowing how to do all of those jobs and knowing the pain points of every single one of those jobs has meant that I've been able to give myself the forgiveness and the space and the time and the freedom to do what they need to do, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like when we run a giveaway on Instagram and we have 1,000 DMs and she's like, Erim, I'm tired. Like I need, can someone else in the team jump on the DMs? Yeah, I know what that's like. No worries. We'll get someone in there.
So empathy.
Empathy, yeah.
And aside from that, how do you balance empathy with also making sure that things are getting done?
Right. That's such a hard balance, isn't it? 'Cause how old are you?
27.
27. Okay. Yeah. 28. And you know, sometimes you're working with people older than you and you're kind of like, oh, I want to tell you off, but it feels weird. I feel that way sometimes, but I'm working it out. I don't think I'm the best leader, to be honest with you, but I listen to like podcasts, I listen to interviews with people, and you, like I said, you don't know where you're going to get advice from. So I kind of just like keep my ear out and see how people are doing things, then I just like copy it.
I think it's also very different in today's day and age because like your dad, for example, his era of business was very different to how it is today. You could be super, super hard-headed and kind of, you know, really, really enforce things. But I think now people, they don't operate that way. They have options and they also know what they're entitled to. They know what they should stand up for and what they shouldn't. And I think it involves a bit of empathy. I think definitely without empathy, you'll never have retention of your people, because they need to know that, okay, you might be the leader, but at the same time, they can come to you on a one-to-one level. They can trust you. They can be there when they're going through dark times as well.
Definitely, definitely. I have one of my members of staff I'm so close to, and sometimes at the end, she'll be like, okay, can we talk about something? I want to ask your advice. And I'll just be like, close the laptop. Okay, cool, go. Let's talk about it. End of sentence. I was thinking, how do I say it without talking?
I thought you were going to say the story.
I know, but then I was like, I'm really going to bait her life out there. Discretion is key for being a good leader.
How do you do that though? Like, as in, how do you balance in that moment? Because you are the leader, and obviously sometimes, like, I'll give you an example in my case. Like, sometimes staff, you know, they have personal problems and they're going through their own thing, and obviously on a human being level, you understand, and obviously you are empathetic towards that, but then you also need the work to get done, so you don't want their productivity to drop as well because they're going through hardship. So do you kind of put both hats on, or in that moment do you just say, you know what, I'm just going to be the human being Erim here?
I think we all are human beings at base level, and if they are not regulated, if their needs aren't met, if they're really stressed about something at home, they need to deal with that. However, I will reduce their workload to the extent that I can, but there's some things that they are irreplaceable for. Sometimes we need to firm it. And I think my staff recognize, okay, you don't have to go to that thing, you don't have to do that, don't worry, I'll get someone else, but this, you need to make sure you're posting every single day, and I'll handle the rest. It is a balance, isn't it? You're
very spiritual as well, aren't you? Like, I think that part of your life is very important, and so you kind of portray this side of you where people do feel that they can come to you because you're very in tune with your spirituality, I believe.
Thanks.
I mean, I remember, I don't know if you do it so much now.
Well, I do every morning.
Yeah,
every morning.
Do you still do it?
Yeah.
And like, I mean, you obviously have a daily routine, right?
Yeah.
And how important, I mean, how does that help you, like in terms of anxiety and things like that?
I would say like mornings are really important. Are you a morning person or a night person?
I think I have my moments in both. I think mornings, I'm not the happiest. I'm sometimes moody, but what works for me is like I have a long drive when I go to work, so I have my coffee, I listen to my music, listen to a podcast, and then I get into the zone. So by the time I'm at the office, I'm now in the zone. Do you know what I mean? And that works for me. Whereas if I maybe woke up and went straight to the office, like it was 10 minutes down the road, then I wouldn't probably be that person. And I was in that situation before where I would have an office right near my house, and it didn't work for me because I would just get out of bed,
roll over onto a desk.
I kind of need that alone time. And for me, I think that's what allows me to get into it. But nighttime, I feel that is my time where I'm not disturbed. So I also love that as well. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's a bit of both.
A bit of both. I think I know myself well enough to know I'm not a morning person. And I think the morning is the most important time for me because I'm like, okay, no one's going to like me right now. So like, let me just do my thing. And that's the only time of the day where I have a routine. So I wake up, I pray, and then like shower, coffee, breakfast. And I actually always schedule extra time so I don't rush my breakfast because I know I can be done with my breakfast in like 20 minutes. But I give myself like 40 minutes because I'm like, you know, you're done eating your toast. You kind of just want to sit there and continue watching the show. And like, that is a really precious time for me in the morning. But then the second I get into my car, wherever it is I'm going, then it's like chaos. No one knows what the day is going to bring.
That's like your little self-care kind of thing.
It is so important to me, yeah. And having a clean home is really important, yeah.
Clean home, I like that. They say that these little things, they play a big part in like your day, because if you have a dirty car, dirty home, then naturally your day will just be bad in some ways. So that's very interesting. And aside from that, what are some of the things that you do that people maybe don't see from an Instagram perspective that like are very important for you for self-care?
I'm
shopping?
I don't. I'm really lucky. I get everything gifted. So yeah.
It's all right for some, isn't it?
I know, but you know what it is? Anything I promote, I really like. So like I will really wear the things I promote, you know, and I'm lucky I get to keep them.
I know that different things work for different people. Like some people, they do have, what do they call it? Retail therapy.
Retail therapy.
Yeah.
For me, like, I'm very, very careful about what I post online. Some of my friends are too precious. My family is too precious. Like I could never expose them to the world. So seeing them is something that happens offline. But again, it keeps me really grounded.
Do you ever find that your online life spills over into your real life in the sense where people catch feelings like if you don't follow them or you don't show them or do they just respect your boundaries?
I don't really integrate myself into the influencer community that much online. I won't display. If I'm friends with someone who's an influencer, it will generally be an offline friendship. Because I think when you do put Instagram and who follow who and did you repost me, it pollutes it a little bit. And I think oftentimes those friendships aren't as genuine. Like you don't need to take a picture with someone in order to prove to the world that you're friends. Just be friends.
I'm like that as well. Like I don't really try to show too much personal time or personal life. Because I just feel that, you know, for me, I mean, it's not relevant. My page is more business and work related. So I kind of strike that balance. But I think when it's an influencer, I think people, they feel that they want all of that information. And that's where sometimes people, they kind of go past their own boundaries as well. Where sometimes they might say, you know what, I'm never going to show my kids. And then now they think, oh, actually, it's going to get so much engagement or weddings or things like that. And then they see it, it's like they're feeding into that engagement where they're like, oh, actually, originally I didn't want to post this, but I know it's going to get 10,000 likes. Yes. So let me do it.
But like, look, Pavlov's dogs, you know that one? Like it's a psychology thing. He rings a bell every time the dogs eat. So then in the future, when he rang the bell, the dogs would salivate because they associated the bell with the food, that positive reinforcement. So what's this? You get likes when you, for instance, post your kids. So people are going to continue to do that. So we're rewarding and reinforcing that behavior by liking that. And not to say that posting kids is bad. It's actually, it's super cute. If the kids want to be in it, whatever.
Down to the individual,
Yeah, 100%. But like, we can't be mad at people when we're the ones encouraging them to do that behavior. Like, for instance, these people who do these gossip, weird videos online, they get so many views. You are the one giving them those views. You are the one giving them that positive reinforcement. You are the one encouraging them to do more. And yet you're the one that's going to sit there and say, oh my God, like the community is so bad. All we do is gossip. Well, you're the one watching it. You need to actively create your own timeline. That means anyone you don't like, muting them, marking them as not interested, blocking them, whatever it might be, reporting it. You are in power of that. You do not have to be exposed to anything that you don't like. I've gone off on a tangent.
No, I like that. I like that. And I think that's very good advice for anyone, because what you see on your social media sometimes affects your whole perspective on life.
Usually,
you know, if you're liking certain things, the algorithm is going to push that same thing, and then that's just going to become your rabbit hole. Like, you're going to start to believe those things.
Yes.
And that's it. That's your source of information.
Literally. And then when you're surrounded by just that on your timeline, like girls receiving roses in Mercedes-Benz, like I get all of those. I liked one post. Now I've got loads of those. And I'm like, oh my God, how do they get that picture? I need to get a massive bouquet of roses. Do you know what I mean? But it's not realistic. That girl took that photo once. It happened to her once, maybe. And then it's just ended up on your timeline. It feels like everybody's got that, you know?
Yeah, I find that a lot, the expectations is a reality thing. I think, you know, obviously I love women, by the way, disclaimer, but I do think that a lot of women, they see these kind of false expectations, and they do almost think, you know, that's how it should be. When obviously, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer, but if they're seeing that constantly on their feed, they're going to think that's how, that's the normality, that's how they should be treated.
Right. I think the same goes for men though.
100% both sides, yeah, definitely.
Like they see what these girls look like and they see these filters, and I think guys are a little bit less woke to knowing when it's makeup and filters, a little bit.
You know, that really bothers me, that, you know, they set the standard. Like, they might have a lovely wife at home, but because they're constantly seeing this, they feel like, oh, I'm not doing as well, or I'm not, you know, I should be getting that. Do you know what I mean? It
comes down to like controlling your exposure to certain things. Like, you know, if I make anyone feel upset for whatever reason, they don't like my face, like unfollow me. That's completely fine. You are in control of the things that you are consuming. You can control that.
I love that. Erim, it's been a true pleasure once again, and I'm really, really happy for all the success that you've achieved, and God willing, you know, you have even more. What are some of the things that people should be looking forward to? Maybe, obviously, Black Friday we've got coming up. For you, what are some of those things that people can look out for?
I would say just following By Erim, we're doing a lot of innovative things when it comes to marketing. We really try and think outside of the box. I have a lot of people that follow me because they're like, your marketing is cool. I'm like, cool, if you're not buying the product but you like it, that's cool, you're learning something. So following By Erim, myself, I'm plugging along with my fragrance videos, I'm plugging along with my little funny things. And that's about it. And
we'll put all the links in the bio as well for people to try the product and obviously follow you. And I want to end the podcast on this note. People have different perspective on this. Do you think money buys happiness?
Oh my God, don't ask me that question.
Because no, like, I mean, I'll tell you my perspective.
Yeah, you tell me.
I think the absence of money brings unhappiness. So when you don't have money, of course you're going to be unhappy. Going back to the Maslow hierarchy of needs as well, I think when you have a lack of it, naturally it causes problems. And I think it definitely helps towards doing things that you want to do, which can lead to moments of happiness. But I don't think it buys contentment. I think money does buy happiness, but it doesn't buy contentment.
Yeah, I actually agree with everything you just said. I'm not even joking. You said it perfectly. Yeah, I agree with you.
Perfect. So that, you know, and the reason why I wanted to end on that note is because, you know, what we do is obviously inspire people to achieve success and obviously go for their dreams and be go-getters. But I think a lot of people have false expectations in their mind that naturally when they get to a certain place, then that's it. All problems are solved.
Listen, every level is a new devil, and I've learned that so strongly in my life.
Yeah, honestly, like I think our mind almost plays games on us sometimes, where we think, oh, when we get this, that's it, we're going to be happy. And then you get that, and then you're happy for 5 minutes, and then you're like, oh, what's next? And it's a constant cycle. Whereas when you, I think, look at all areas of your life, well, health, wealth, love, and happiness, then that's when you achieve true happiness, in my opinion.
100%.
Perfect. Erim, anything else you want to leave with your followers?
Thank you. That was such a good interview.
Thank you so much.
You did a good job.
And who knows, maybe a part 3 in a few years.
Yes. Okay, see you in 3 years.
Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you soon.